Pokemon. I don't need to say anything else. The biggest multimedia franchise, beating out the likes of Mickey Mouse, Star Wars, and Winnie the Pooh. They have all sorts of things going. Games, merchandise, an anime, fucking airlines. Literally nothing is out of reach for them. Thing is, Pokemon wasn't always so massive. I know, what a shock. It started out as a game for the Game Boy, a system that was 7 years old by the time the games were released. The game was worked on by a very small team, and the company making the games was lacking in funding throughout. But the games released, then they made another, and another, and another. And now we have 9 generations of the games, over 1,000 Pokemon, and so much other shit that you probably have to dedicate your life to keeping up with it all. All of this started from humble beginnings. Only 4 games, 3 if you don't live in Japan, and they're all the same damn thing. An anime and trading card game outsourced to other companies, only 151 Pokemon, and support from 3 companies for the games to even exist. How did the games go from this to this? Well, that's what we'll be doing for the next few years. I wanted to look back through the series, diving into each game and seeing just how Pokemon evolved and devolved as a series to get to where we are now. So to start from all the way at the beginning, we need to go back as far as 1990, when Satoshi Tajiri first pitched the idea of Pokemon to Nintendo. They told him, no, fuck off, but Miyamoto saw potential in the idea of making your cute little animals slap each other to the death. The idea came from an old hobby of Tajiri's as a kid, where he would collect insects. When the Game Boy released, he saw the brick and was like, holy shit! Actually, it was the link cable he saw that made him think of that. It was perfect! You could catch some creatures and then use the link cable to trade them with your friends. It was great! Miyamoto suggested the idea of releasing 2 versions of the game, Red and Green. They would be the same game, but a select few Pokemon were exclusive to each, which would encourage trading between your friends with the other version, and as such, the 2-game concept was born. The games, however, were a bit more than Game Freak could handle. The games overall took 6 years or so to develop, which is absolutely insane. But after all that work, Pokemon released on February 27th, 1996, and, to everyone's surprise, was a massive success. Everyone was buying copies of both the red and the green versions of the game, except those who picked green were stupid because red is clearly the better color, and it has a dragon on the cover instead of a fucking plant. A few months later, a new version, Pokemon Blue, would be released. This version was released by mail order from CoroCoro Comic on October 15th that year, but would become a retail release on October 10th, 1999. This version has updated sprites, bug fixes, and later on became the basis for international releases. It too didn't have all the Pokemon in it, so some remained only in red and green. They used Pokemon Blue as a basis because it was a more stable version of the game, put stable in quotes, copied the Pokemon distribution over from red and green, translated the text, and released them as the Pokemon games Pokemon Red and Blue? Why Blue? What happened to green? Well, Game Freak wanted to appeal more to American children, so they made the games red and blue to align more with the American flag. And the last time I checked, there wasn't any green on this thing. You might as well release Pokemon White as well, Game Freak. Huh. Red and Blue released on September 28, 1998 in North America, October 5th, 1999 in Europe, and somewhere in 1998 for Australia. I can't find it. These games were a smash success everywhere, making Pokemon a worldwide phenomenon. Pokemon Yellow released on September 12, 1998 in Japan, and was a modified version of the game to align more with the anime, adding in Jesse and James, you starting with a Pikachu, that sort of thing. It was released in North America on October 19, 1999, and in Europe on June 16, 2000. That's not the end of these games being released. In a Nintendo Direct on November 12, 2015, it was announced that the first generation of Pokemon would be released on the 3DS Virtual Console on February 27, 2016, the 20th anniversary of the series. Overall, these games were a massive success, selling over 30 million copies worldwide and receiving positive review scores all around. So were these games actually good, or is the nostalgia the driving factor behind all the love these games get? So, let's boot up Pokemon Yellow and find out. Starting a new game introduces us to Professor Oak. He's a Pokemon prof. He introduces the concept of a Pokemon by showing a Pikachu. I name myself, name the rival, and set out on my Pokemon journey. Oh, I got stopped because apparently it's too dangerous. Of course, he gets attacked by a Pikachu before he can head back to safety, despite the fact that Pikachu can't be found on Route 1. I go to the lab and I get told to take the Pokemon on the table, but then this bitch-ass kid takes it instead, so I get Pikachu. I fight Blue, who has an Eevee, and I barely win. Pikachu's a little baby and decides he doesn't like his Pokeball, so he decides to come out of it, and now I have this fat fuck walking around with me. I went up Route 1, fighting Pidgeys and Rattatas along the way. Really, Oak? These were the things that were too dangerous for one to handle? I reached Viridian City, entered the mart, and got told to deliver a package to Professor Oak. No ID, no need for registration. He knew I was just from Pallet and asked me to deliver it. Wait, how did he even know I was from Pallet? I delivered it back to him and obtained the Pokédex as a message to catch all the Pokemon and record them in the Pokédex. Imagine actually doing this. Like, if you complete a Pokédex, you know, you're just like a big stinking nerd with no life. Yeah. I go west of Viridian City and catch myself another team member, Nidoran. I then went north of the Viridian Forest, battling some trainers in battle and stealing their lunch money. Coming out the end, I was in Pewter City, where I tackled the first gym leader, Brock, and his rock-type Pokemon. Gyms in this game are places where you battle trainers and at the end battle a trainer specializing in a specific type. These trainers are tough, and defeating ones earns you a gym badge, which you need 8 of to take on the Pokemon League, become the champion, and beat the game. Pretty simple idea, but in my opinion, it works pretty well. It's simple, fun, and makes sense in the context of the world. Having really strong trainers test players as they work their way to become the best makes logical sense when you consider the fact there's a Pokemon League, and Pokemon battling is a sport in this world. It's a fun idea, and I just like it all around. After beating up more children, I go into Mount Moon, a cave full of trainers, Pokemon, and the mob. Team Rocket, the main bad guys of these games. They steal people's Pokemon and probably are just a mafia. I kick their ass though because I suck at battling, and then I reach this guy who found some rare fossils and tells me to back off because they're his. He's right, but I still beat him up and take one of them, being the Helix fossil. I then battle Team Rocket. Again. This time though, it's Jesse and James from the anime using the same Pokemon they used in the show. I mean, I still whooped their ass, but I think that's kinda cool. Mount Moon is the first place in the game where it feels like a chore to go through. So many encounters everywhere, none of which have any value on battling, and the lack of the ability to buy repels to stop the encounters is annoying. The place is easy to get lost, trainers are everywhere, it's just not fun and it takes forever. While here, Nidoran evolved. Twice. I got to the other side and reached Cerulean City where, fuck, not this kid again. Absolutely destroyed, get fucked. I beat up 5 kids just for fun, and not only do I get a chicken nugget, but a job request at Team Rocket. Team Rocket is probably a massive corporation in the Kanto region. They have a lot of grunts everywhere, and they probably pay well for risking their lives doing crime. And there aren't too many companies in the region. Like, if you don't own a Pokemart or are a gym leader, you are literally jobless in this world. I wanted to say yes, but I couldn't, so I just beat up the guy instead. I got a Charmander from this guy who I named Argarok to remind myself that I need to run Twilight Princess again. I got a Bulbasaur from an NPC in Cerulean City, which I named Diabalba to remind myself that I need to run Twilight Princess again. I fought more trainers and got to this guy who transformed himself into a Pokemon. I pressed one button and unfurried him, so he's all good. I got given a cruise ticket because he's too shy to party. Aw, boo-hoo, you be social, you little baby. I'd be exactly the same. This guy's too relatable. I go back to the Cerulean and fight the gym leader, Misty, who I fucking destroyed with absolutely no issues. I go into this house and find that, these guys were robbed by the Mafia. He left the door unlocked, but what do you expect? In fact, everyone leaves their house unlocked. How is this the only guy who got robbed in the whole game? I beat up this guy and got back the item he stole. Well, I guess it's mine now. I arrive at Vermillion City, and my next destination is the SS Anne, which I can get on because of my ticket. On this ship, I have another fight with Blue, who I yet again kick the ass of. The captain is seasick, and despite all the sailors on the ship, no one could just take over, so I rub his back a little and gives me the HF for cut. With this, I can enter the Vermillion gym, and this one sucks. You have to inspect these trash cans to find 2 switches, but the thing is, the can the switches are in are completely random, so you're guessing for all of these. Once you do find a switch, if you don't get the other one immediately after, the lock resets and the switch moves places. Thankfully, the second switch is always right next to the first switch, so that makes it a little easier. But that doesn't change the fact that the gym just sucks and is annoying. Luckily, the gym leader was a piece of cake, only one ride shoe to deal with. From here, I got a free Squirtle and the bike voucher before heading back to Celadon. I got my bike and cut down a tree to go through a whole lot of trainers and reach Rock Tunnel. Rock Tunnel is just Mount Moon 2. Just a pain with all the encounters you have to go through. Coming out at the end brings me to Lavender Town. I ignore the place, go to Celadon, and take on the next gym leader, Erica. Her gym trainers kept rap spamming me, so I fucking hate it here. I beat her no problem with the help of my Vermillion and got the Force Bash. Now it's time to do what any sane person does to celebrate a victory. Underage gambling! And whoops, I accidentally uncovered the secret of a massive criminal organization. Welcome to the Team Rocket Hideout, a thing I was expected to clear before fighting Erica. Oopsie poopsie. This place is where the Mafia does their operations, filled with spitty tiles, make you wonder if this is a safe place for the employees. I get to the end, fight Jesse and James again, then come face to face with the leader of Team Rocket himself, the Mafia boss, Giovanni. He is pretty strong as a trainer because he is, well, the leader of a big crime syndicate, and I destroy him with my stronger than intended team. This gets you the Silph scope, which allows you to see ghosts. Yeah, I could just not take my schizophrenia meds and get the same result and see things that aren't really there. Using this, I go to Lavender Tower, go to the top, and beat up a dead mother. Ah, fuck, not these guys again. I save the old guy at the top and get a flute, which I can use to wake up the fat fuck in my way. Dude, I could probably just make this guy sit on Giovanni and call it a day. I went my way down to Fuchsia City and took on the gym leader here, and what the— why are they so strong? Yeah, so basically, you can do any of the next 3 gyms in almost any order, so they're all super high level to balance it out. Was it too difficult to actually put work into either restricting the order or doing level scaling? This just makes people think they need to grind more, which is like slow and tedious. Anyway, I beat him with my much lower level team. I then went to Saffron and found the Mafia taking over Silph Co, trying to gain their technology for, I don't know, fun. Silph Co is a big fucking maze and is a little annoying to try and navigate. With a ton of floors and warp panels, it is a nightmare to figure out where you are and where to go sometimes. You have no indication of where a warp tile will take you, you just need to memorize it. Nor do you have any way of telling what floor you're even on. It also amuses me to think that the employees working their 9 to 5 here have to be careful of floor tiles that teleport them. This place isn't the worst to navigate, and once you get the key card, it's pretty easy to get to where you need to go. I beat the shit out of Blue's Pokemon and found myself face to face with Giovanni. Again. You know, why doesn't Giovanni just, like, shoot me or something? He's the big bad of the region, has no regard for the law, and I'm trying to stop his big evil scheme. Do guns just not exist in the Pokemon world? And when I battle him, why does he play by the rules? You're a villain! Use more than 6 allowed Pokemon! Attack more than once per turn! Attack the trainer or something! This guy's a fucking idiot! And then I beat the guy and he's like, oh, my plans are ruined, you beat my animals in a fight, guess I gotta go home. Like, no, you're just being ridiculous! All I'm saying is that Team Rocket should have convinced me better to join back on Nugget Bridge. They leave, I get the most useless item in the game, and take on the Saffron Gym. Saffron Gym is... fuck this. It's more warp tiles, everyone's favorite thing ever. I did eventually get to the end, and the gym leader, Sabrina, was pretty easy, despite the level 50 Alakazam on her team. Next up, this stinky little island. I surf there and find this island with this silly looking bird. Welcome to Cinnabar Island. The gym is locked, fuck you. I have to go into this abandoned mansion that has some lore in it. Is South America canon in the Pokemon world now? The books here detail a Pokemon named Mew that was captured and cloned to make the ultimate Pokemon. I wonder if I'm gonna have to fight it. Anyway, I get the key and take it to the gym where I have to take a test. The test in here is bullshit. Like, no, Caterpie evolves into Metapod, not Butterfree. So why did you mark me wrong? I get to the end, destroy the gym leader Blaine and his fire Pokemon, and now there's only one gym left. The final gym is pretty much right where the game started, Viridian City. This gym is supposed to be the ground type gym, but there are a lot of non-ground type Pokemon here. Reaching the end put me face to face with Giovanni. Again. He says that Team Rocket will rule the world, but then I beat him and he's like, yeah, okay, I guess I'll disband the team. And with that, I, an 11-year-old boy, have successfully taken down the Mafia, a feat that the one police officer this country calls law enforcement couldn't do. Now is the final stretch. I need to go over here and become the champion of the Kanto region. I have to fight my rival Blue on the way to the league though. Despite the vast level difference, I managed to beat him no problem. I made my way through all the badge checks and entered Victory Road, a cave full of everyone's favorite puzzles like pushing rocks for forever until they go where you need them to. I eventually made it to the end and took on the Pokemon League. The Pokemon League is a gauntlet of 4 elite trainers who you need to beat back to back to be able to fight for the champion position and potentially become the most powerful trainer in the region. The first Elite Four member is Lorelei, who is easy to take down as she specializes in ice types, and ice types typically share other types or just aren't the best at bulk in general. Next up is Bruno, who uses fighting types. He has 2 Onyxes on his team. Next up is Agatha, the ghost type trainer. She says she's the ghost type trainer, yet she has quite a few non-ghost types. The final member of the Elite Four is Lance, the Dragon Master. 2 of his Pokemon aren't Dragon types and 2 of his Dragon types are the same. Overall, the Elite Four are pretty easy. It might just be that I was grinding, but I honestly still was hoping for a bit more of a challenge. Also, I kinda get why the Elite Four lack in the types they specialize in. There's only 1 Ghost Evolution line and 1 Dragon line. But you have quite a few other fighting types you can use, such as like Primeape and Poliwrath. You could've used those, Bruno. After beating Lance, I am informed that I was too slow. Now it is time for the final battle against Blue for the title of the Kanto League Champion. Blue doesn't use a specific type, he has a variety that is used to try and counter any other type, which is a smart move in team building. In fact, I nearly lost the first time third. After beating his team of Pokemon, Professor Oak comes in and congratulates me for winning before scolding his grandson right in front of me. I then get taken to the Hall of Fame where my team is recorded as the very best, like no one ever was, and the credits roll. So overall, the story is good. The plot is simple, but it's not too basic and boring. It mostly makes sense, and it's fun to go through and experience. The characters don't really have too much personality to them, but that's also kind of because there's like hardly any. Your character, Red, is silent, so he has literally no personality. Professor Oak isn't even present after you get the Pokédex all the way up to the end of the game, but he doesn't really have too much of a personality himself. He's just a brilliant professor who wants to make an encyclopedia on all Pokemon, which is good enough for a guy who's there for like the first 15 minutes of gameplay. The gym leaders all have only, what, like 7 sentences max? Not really much of a personality you could build from that other than, hey, I am the rock trainer, you think you could beat me, oh, I like to see you try, oh no, you found one of Rock's 4 weaknesses, 2 of which are possible starters in Gen 1. Giovanni is a cool villain though, he has clear motivation and reason for each of the things he and the rest of the Team Rocket do. That reasoning is that he wants to have world domination and power, and it also even makes more sense if you buy into the theory that everything they do is an attempt to catch Mewtwo after it fled their captivity. The only other character is Blue, and to be fair, he does have personality. His whole thing is that he's a dick. Snarky remarks and attitude with every line of dialogue from him gives off that feeling of him being an ass. But at the same time, I don't think he really hates you, per se. There are points where he gives you useful information, such as when you're going to Bill, or when he tells you that the captain teaches cut on the SSN. He does call you pal at some points, which I guess could be taken as sarcastically, but the way he speaks seems like he's a little genuine with that at least. Plus, he never really seems annoyed when you see him. Even when he loses, he's not an asshole to you, he's more like, dang, I raised my Pokemon well too, I raised them so strong, how could I lose? He's easily the best character in the game, but like, there's no competition for him. The story and characters are overall good, nothing earth-shattering, but it's not bad either. It's a simple story, which is fine when storytelling isn't the main focus of the game, as well as the fact that the game is made for a handheld from 1989. The anime and manga do build a lot more character than the games though, but I mean that makes sense. The anime and manga can't revolve the entire thing around a silent 10-year-old catching Pokemon. That wouldn't make for good content. The anime made a substitute for Red named Ash, a 10-year-old who isn't the best at Pokemon, but he has the determination to push on and become the very best like no one ever was, even if it takes him like 25 years. Brock and Misty, the first two gym leaders of the games, were companions to Ash on his journey. Misty was given the motivation of being the best water-type trainer, being a bit sarcastic and insulting to Ash and Brock, but overall being a great companion for the two, and Brock was given the character trait of Horny. The manga did similar development of Red, being kinda similar to Ash. Blue was a bit more hostile overall, a new character, Green, being a trickster and deceitful, as well as Yellow, a kid who can heal Pokemon at will and communicates well with them on their search for Red. I binged the Kanto and Orange Island arcs of the anime and read through all of the Red and Blue as well as the Yellow chapters of the Pokemon Adventures manga during my Gen 1 playthrough, and overall, they were a lot of fun to read and watch. I recommend checking them out yourself, but I won't go into too much detail about the anime and manga here. I want to focus on the games. Maybe at some point I'll look back at these and give opinions on those, but for now, let's get back to the games. One of the most important factors to a Pokemon game is, well, the Pokemon themselves. With a total of 151 Pokemon, I won't talk in detail about individual ones, just general stuff. Overall, I really like the variety of the Pokemon here. There's a good blend of Pokemon who look cute and tough ones, those based on real things and animals, and those completely made up. There's also a good selection of Pokemon of each type, with a few exceptions. Want a water type? Well, you could get Blastoise as your starter. If not, you always have Starmie, Golduck, Slowbro, Poliwrath, or Tentacool. Maybe you're looking for a good fire type. Well, you can have Charizard, Ninetales, Arcanine, Rapidash, Flareon. You see where I'm going? Although that's not to say that every type is like that, as Ghost and Dragon have one evolutionary line each. But the thing is, neither type is even good in this generation, with the only real attacks they have being fixed damage ones anyway. Overall, this generation may have the best variety of Pokemon on any of the games we've looked at yet on this relook at the games. The designs are also cool. A lot of them are based on real-world things such as turtles, fish, and fat people, while some are based on not real things like angry pig monkeys, psychics, and birds. Some are kinda bland and lazy though, just like look at Voltorb. It's just a ball. But wait, when it evolves, now it's an Electrode. Others are very creative and well designed to be either cute little animals or beasts of destruction. There's also a seal named Seal. It's natural that with 151 creatures being shoved into a Game Boy cartridge, some are going to suck, but the overall majority are cool and I like them. So other than the story, characters, and Pokemon, what other elements make up a Pokemon game? Let's look at the post-game for Gen 1. After becoming champion, you can enter the Cerulean Cave, which was previously blocked, and find many rare Pokemon. At the end of the cave is Mewtwo, a Pokemon that was cloned from the mythical Mew and was designed to be the most powerful Pokemon. It's mine now. Okay, so what other post-game do we have? That was it. Okay, so yeah, that was all that unlocks after beating the game. Any side modes or things to do other than the story? Like some games have a battle tower or contest. Does this game have any of that? No, it does not. So yeah, this game has no other content than just the story and the Pokédex. Okay, so as with any other game in existence, there's a world for you to traverse in. The world here is fine. I honestly don't know how to describe it really. The routes are generally all the same, varying in layout, but they're all just grassy or water paths with trainers and wild Pokemon to find. All cities and towns also feel relatively interchangeable, since none of them have any specific thing to them that makes them unique other than, I don't know, the Pokemon Fan Club, the Safari Zone. There's no aesthetic to any of them, which is fine enough because, like, what are you gonna do to make this area on Game Boy look better? There are a few cool areas of note, such as the abandoned power plant, which contains a few electric types, and as far as I'm aware, there's no lore to this place. If you want lore, though, you need to go to the Pokemon Mansion. This place is where science experiments were done, such as the creation of Mewtwo. There are journal entries scattered around that detail how a Pokemon called Mew was found in Guyana, South America, so I guess the real world is canon to the Pokemon world. The scientists got the DNA and they cloned Mew into a Pokemon designed to be the strongest ever, Mewtwo. Mewtwo was upset about, existing, and killed everyone in the mansion and left to hang out in some random cave. Anyway, that's all I really have to say about the world map. Alright, what's next? How about the Pokédex? Gotta catch 'em all is the slogan of the series, so naturally, you're gonna want to catch 'em all if you're a stupid 7-year-old or me. Across the region, you could find the little Pokemon in grass, water, caves, and you are tasked with catching one of each to record the data for a complete encyclopedia on all Pokemon in existence. The Pokédex seems like a great idea as a completionist goal, but honestly, in this game it just isn't the most interesting to complete. There's not much to completing it other than just running around for random encounters and grinding for levels. There's just not too much to it other than grinding. If you do complete it, however, you get the greatest award ever, a screenshot. I mean, yeah, having a diploma like this is better than nothing. You could print it out and tape it to your wall or something, but the thing is, it's just a grind that has very little reward. Very little cool game mechanics except for the Safari Zone. I'm pretty sure Pokédexes get cooler to do later in the series, but for this one, it's just a bit dull and boring. So after all of this, is Pokemon Gen 1 even good? Honestly, these games are just alright. The region isn't the most interesting, the story is pretty basic, terrible level scaling and movesets for Pokemon. It just all makes the game just okay. There are great things about the games, such as the concept of everything being great, and it's incredible to think that this came out on basically a dead handheld from a team of 10 people in the 90s. The games showed potential. Even looking back now, you could see the potential the series had from the very start. And it's undeniable the massive cultural effect these games, as well as the show and cards, had on the masses in the late 90s and early 2000s. They're just not the most interesting games to come back to nowadays, though. These would probably be about C-tier games, I'd say. They're fun, you can have a lot of fun playing and going up to becoming the champion. But they won't really blow you away and are nothing special compared to all the later games we have in this series. I'd still say these games are fun and worth giving a shot though, mostly because it's where the series started. And that's it for Gen 1. Well, that was fun. Now we have 8 more generations to get through. Oh boy.